Um, I had a very strong theater background. When I was in high school, I was in the theater guild. When I was in college, I was in the theater guild, and I was very interested in dance. And we had, like senior students who taught us a little bit of technique and ganyan. And then when I was finally in the fine arts program and learned about performance art, of course, inevitably my dancing would be incorporated into the performance. But then again, I was feeling a little limited with what I had learned in theater, and I felt like it wasn't the kind of I wanted to do my own kind of dancing and do it in my own process. So I researched, read, looked in the internet, and then I found Buto. And when I read about Buto, it was almost like it was reading what I was thinking. Yeah. And since it was already there, and I would rather, call the thing I do Buto, but it's essentially what is the process, at least. Because, it's very Japanese. It's originated in Japan. It's a very Japanese thing. It was a reaction to, um, after the Second World War, all that horror, and then the culture of Japan as well after that time. My performances, it's only recently that I realized how it all worked, how the process was. I started out making these characters, and doing them as serials, like, oh my god. And then I do, like, because we got performance art, it's just a limited amount of time. I mean, you can, especially in Cebu. I mean, you can't do like a 3-day performance in Cebu and expect people to watch it. So it's like 5 to 7 minutes, and then I'd use these characters to address certain situations and certain themes, especially when I'm asked to perform or I'm invited to perform in some event. So yeah. And then I realized while I was doing that, it actually mapped out my experience, my life path. So eventually I formed a narrative out of those performances, and they become these shows I do, which are longer and allow people to see. And anyway, I've made so far, how many characters? Maybe 5 or more. There's Madam Binayaan, and it's actually a play of words. Binayaan and Cebuano is Binayaan is Cebuano for abandoned, or iniwanan in Tagalog. And there's Happy. There's also a guy named Comfy, and there's Ghost and Lucid. And I have 2 new ones. Roland, which is the alter ego of Happy, and the Aboriginal Sigbin, which is a play on Budoy's song, the original Sigbin. But I kind of stole it from him and called mine the Aboriginal Sigbin. So yeah. And then these characters, basically they represent certain aspects of myself. Binayaan is about basically my love life, and she's like the archetype of the abandoned lover. And I feel like, at least when I talk to friends or strangers, and they all have the same experience. Somehow in their life they felt they were abandoned, and they can relate to it. Happy is all about basically happiness, or finding the joy in your life and your passions, your true identity. And Lucid is about clarity. He speaks about very important issues and what he thinks should be done and what needs to be exposed or seen and understood by people. Comfy is about your comfort zones. he's an evil character. He's made up of stuffed toys. He's very colorful. He's very attractive and cute, but it's in a sense very sly in that way because since he's the embodiment of comfort zones, people like being in their comfort zones, but anyway, they end up being stagnated individuals and stunted, you know. What else? Who else is Roland is the alter ego of Happy. Happy is basically that the colors in you, you know, that make you who you are. And so Happy is lost. He's wandering around looking for its human, which is Roland. I just needed to assign a human. So there. Sigbin is a new one. I have still yet to develop that. I don't know how or what his story will be, but I just did that a few days ago. Sigbin is actually I think it's mostly a Visayan mythological creature. It's varied descriptions from different towns and islands, but the basic ones are usually it's a pet of a witch or a witch or a sorcerer or an evil person. Usually when somebody's really very old and he doesn't, for some reason, he doesn't seem to die, and people think he or she must own a sigbin, because if you have a sigbin, you can't get sick. It heals all kinds of ailments, and you don't die, you just grow old. And then what else? It has the power of teleportation. If you have that, you can go to any place, and you know, like that. And supposedly Leon Quilap had a sigbin, because he would be fighting in this place, fighting the Spaniards, and then he'd be fighting in another place, almost like in the exact same time. And what else? And then the sigbin also has very evil connotations, because it is the pet of witches. So it can suck your blood through your shadow, and then it only eats charcoal and kalabasa, squash. The most recurring ones are Madame Binian and Happy. Binian, of course, is for a very long period of time in my life. My art production was based on basically focused on this issue, this aspect of basic emotions and love. And yes, it was a very powerful force. So I produced a lot of art of it, and it's a very attractive issue for people. Everybody relates to it. Everybody likes talking about it. And then Happy because I like Happy because it basically symbolizes this stage in my life. It's the now, the present, which is I find really fulfilling. And out of all the characters, only Happy is outside. Out of all the characters I produced, he's the only one who's actually gone out of the room and reached out. That is the character of Happy. He looks for you. He searches for you. He's the only character who loves everyone and wants everyone to be happy. So it's no longer my concern. It's my time to share. So all this time we've been like me. And now this time it's outward. So that's what I like about Happy. It's not self-centered. Yeah. So the videos, for example, in the Happy show, I had to use video to illustrate how Roland's condition, because Roland is the archetype of the modern, Cebuano, Filipino, even modern man, and You know, he's very involved with the corporate world. He's very, you know, wired to the system. And so all his issues, all his concerns, his apprehensions, they just appear in his subconscious, which is when he's sleeping. And so he's okay in the outside, and everyone seems to think they're okay, but then they dream all these things. So I had to use video to project that, to give that effect, because in my performances it's basically taking me out of my room and showing people what happens there. It's a very intimate show. It's almost voyeuristic what I do. That's why I change in front of the audience, because they have to see that this is actually happening, and this is what happens when I'm in my room. Yeah.
You mentioned that you also use the webcam.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it's the only thing I have. If I had something special or something nicer, maybe I would use that. But then you have to look at providence and serendipity, and what the universe supplies you with. And in the end, I'm really grateful that I have that device. It's very crude. The images I get are very pixelated. You know? But then I realized this is how I see a lot of things. I mean, right now everything goes through all these mediums. It's very rare that you see something and you see it for exactly what it is. There's always these layers now, or it's made up of all these little things. And yeah. For example, Ghost Light, one of the videos shown in the exhibit. Originally, I did that as a birthday present for a friend. It was broadcast via video chat, and so basically the video is like the residue of that event. And then so there I was performing for one person, but also, for example, Roland's Nightmare, it was more of a documentation. Sometimes I would film myself before going to sleep, and then you get a document after, and then I work with that. Or I just stay in my room and keep the webcam on record mode and do stuff. And sometimes I just, like, for example, if I'm in a very emotional state where I need to process a certain event or emotion, and I can't write about it, I can't talk to anyone about it, I can't paint about it. So that's when my puto comes in, and I have to dance. So I just put the webcam on and I dance along. Yeah. From my perspective, my experience, especially as someone who was born and raised in Cebu, I feel like Cebuano art is an art that has yet to define itself, and it's like a child. It's in that stage, which is very exciting, and it has. I feel like it's very young for me now. This is how I feel, because for a while I feel like it has been a stagnance or something. But mine is, I guess, it is kind of like an adaptation to the environment. You know, as what Tommy said about the struggles we all face as artists in the regions, and also about what is basically happening to the world and in our locale. And I react to those things, and my art comes from a very intimate place. I rarely speak for a group or a society. I speak only as as myself. And by doing that, I realized there is more. I feel like there's more universality to it because people actually try to relate to people other than these large ideas and concepts and inventions.